Hey guys, welcome back here to today's episode of The Fishing Teacher. Appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today. We are going to be talking about the truth about what bass do in cold water and how cold water affects bass, because there is a lot of myths and misconceptions to this. And I know very well about this fishing here in the Missouri Ozarks because there's a lot of wintertime fishing here. In fact, I just got off the lake today. I was fishing up at Stockton Lake in Missouri. Water temperatures were low 40s, 40, 41, 42 degrees. And I'm going to give you guys a prime example today what happened as far as people thinking about what bass do and don't do in cold water. So we're going to get into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, real quick, just a quick reminder, guys, this Thursday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we got our first live stream here on the channel. This is a live stream for private live stream for channel members and my Patreon members. If you guys are interested in joining in, and we're going to be doing them from now on about once a week, just go to the homepage here, The Fishing Teacher, click on the join button for information to become a channel member. We got a lot of different levels to it, or you can go to the description of my video and join up as a Patreon member. So hope to see you guys there. And also, guys, real quick, you may have heard me talking about it, but I don't have it here, but Zoom, in fact, let me grab one real quick here. Zoom has just came out. I actually did a video on this on my other channel with this new mid-size Z-Craw here, guys. This is the mid-size Zoom Z-Craw. I'll put this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description too if you guys would like to get a pack of them. Just they're going to be a really good bait for this coming year, so appreciate that. Okay, myths and misconception of how bass react or what bass do in cold water. I'll give you prime example today. Water temperature 40, 41, 42 degrees, and there was a lot of ice still in the back of the coves. In fact, some of the coves, halfway out of the coves, they still had ice on the water. So you know how cold the water is to still have ice on it. Now, we were fishing jerkbaits today. I was up there with my wife, Kim, fishing jerkbaits. And one of the things that I noticed throughout the course of the day is you did not have to slow the jerkbait down to catch them. It's like we caught quite a few fish today and not letting the bait pause but just a second or two. A lot of people think that like cold water, you got to twitch that jerkbait real slow and let it set forever. Not the case. We were just doing jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause pretty fast through the water, still catching fish. I think one of the misconceptions a lot of people have is when you talk about a bass being a cold-blooded creature, they try to think about it in the same term as like a snake or a turtle, about how dormant they get in the wintertime since they're cold-blooded, or lizard, something like that. That's not the case with bass. Bass will move, and they'll move pretty fast in the wintertime, even in super, super cold water. They chase lures. They'll actually chase them down, and they'll also jump. I've seen bass jump in 40, 45 degree water before. So I think one of the things to remember is when you're fishing in cold water, when I'm talking about cold water, I'm talking about water temperatures in the 40s, which you may or may not have that in your part of the country, but don't feel like you have to fish at a snail's pace. Don't feel like you have to just barely move that jig along, or it's a shaky head, or barely slow crank a crankbait, or fish a jerkbait and let it pause forever. You can still fish at a pretty decent pace and still catch a lot of fish with it. Especially like a crankbait. A lot of people think that they won't bite a moving bait like a crankbait in cold water, but they definitely will, even if the water has got a little bit of stain to it, like, for the visibility or something. Now, this isn't the case all the time. I'm not saying that sometimes you don't have to slow down, because here's what you'll find out as far as bass in cold water. It has a lot to do with your water visibility. In general, this is what you're going to have. If you've got cold water, like water temperatures in the 40s, and water visibility down, like this much or like this much water visibility, yeah, at that point you have to slow down because the bass has to find the lure. It's not necessarily that they're sluggish, but they have to find it. And they are a little bit slower. They're not a lot slower, but they still have to hunt it and find it. So slow it down if the water temperature is real cold and the water's stained, and if it's clear and cold, you can fish it a little bit faster, and then sort of like in between, sort of adjust it, in between, clear or stained water. Ultimately, you just have to let the fish tell you what they want. I'm not saying that you can fish at a fast pace in the wintertime, or, fish like you do when the water temperature is 75 or 80, but I think there's this big misconception that fish just get really slow and dormant in the wintertime of the year. And it's just another example of just studying the fish and become a student of the fish. And there's always exceptions to the rule. And there's always different parts of the country that are exceptions to the rule. And different bass species are different, because a largemouth bass and a spotted bass and a smallmouth will all react different, to those variables that we just talked about. But I just wanted to, quick video here, guys. I just wanted to reiterate the fact that if you have cold water situations like we do right now, at the time of filming this video, it's still the first week of February. Water's still cold, and it's probably going to be cold for another month. Just don't feel like you have to fish as slow as a snail, because you don't. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.